So, welcome to today's video. We are taking a look at this watercolor set from MozArt called Komorebi. It has 40 colors in a Japanese style. So, they are a little bit like Gansai Tambi paints from how they behave. I think that is meant with the Japanese style. We do have it in a metal tin and the colors are in this plastic tray, but you can rearrange them if you want to, because you can take them all out. Like you can see, they do have a number underneath, which is nice. We do have a swatch card with numbers and names in the lid, but sadly it is glued in, which I personally don't like, because you always have to, you can't put it out and put it somewhere to see more easily or so. For example, the box itself is very big and you need a lot of space, so it is not so so handy. The paper from the swatch card is like a watercolor paper, so I do like that they have put it in, but the glued in status is, for my personal taste, not so nice. I think the reason why they probably done it is so that it is safe and you don't have it flying around all the time. But yeah, like I said, it's a personal taste. So like I said, we get numbers, we get names, but sadly we don't have any information about pigments. So yeah, I personally would recommend using them as a non-light fast watercolors, because we don't have any pigment information. And in most cases, when you buy cheaper sets like this one here, the color groups yellow, orange, red, pink, purple, violet, and some of the greens when they are mixed with a yellow, which you of course also don't know which ones they are because we don't have any information about the pigments. Those are mostly not light fast. So of course we also do have other colors like a Prussian blue, for example, that is not light fast, but those are in most of my cheap sets are, when they provide any pigment information, they aren't using any light fast pigments in these groups. So that is just something to keep in mind. Like I said, I would personally just use these colors whenever light fastness isn't necessary. So first color, the red, which looks like a little bit like a red from a fire oh gosh, fireman truck? Fire truck? I hope you know what I mean. It's a very bright red. It's called Crimson. The second one, which is like a warm magenta, it reminds me a little bit like PV19. It's called Carmine here. Probably could imagine that it is a PR 170, which is often used as a replacement for PV19 because it's cheaper but not light fast. Then we have Cerise. That's a very bright magenta color. So we do have two versions of primary red already here, a warmer and a cooler magenta, which is pretty nice for mixing, that you have this. And then we have the color just called Violet, which is the cool purple color. And then we have the Hyacinth Violet, which is the warm violet here. Then it changes to earth colors. So the arrangement here, how they arrange the colors, is absolutely terrible. In my personal opinion, I would love to have to rearranged it, but because of the swatch card, the names and so on are exactly in that order, so that's why I haven't rearranged it, but I absolutely do not like how they arranged it, because we now have, yeah, I just don't like it. It's a personal taste thing. So the first was called Red Ochre, which is like a brown ochre with a small reddish tint. Then we have the yellow ochre, and the last color that I swatched in this row is called Gamboge, which is like an orange, a lighter orange color. So starting with the next row, the first color is just called Orange. It's a very strong orange color. Often with cheaper sets you also don't know if it's pigment or dye based, but here we do have some colors that do granulate mediocre bis very strongly, so dyes don't granulate, so that's definitely a good sign for a pigment based set. So that is at least a plus in my personal opinion, because you at least have the chance that the colors, even in dark, will last longer, because dye not only fades in contact with light but also in contact with oxygen, which you of course can't prevent if dye-based, even when your colors even fade when you put them into a dark place. So that is something with time can happen. Not with all of them, and not all of them react with oxygen the same, but it can happen. So yeah, that's definitely a plus for pigments again. So the first yellow was called Brilliant Yellow, and the second one is called Lemon Yellow. And that's all the yellows we get in this set. It's basically a primary yellow and a little bit warmer version of the lemon yellow, because the Brilliant Yellow is also a very light yellow color, but a warm version. Then the next color here is called Grass Green. It's a very dark green color. I think it is a nice color, because I can imagine a lot of ways to use this one. And it gets very dark. When I look at the edges, guess it looks very black on the outside. When you look very closely on the dried swatch, probably there is some kind of black pigment in this mix color inside. Then we have the olive green, which is a super opaque color. Don't like it if I'm honest, because it's so damn opaque. And also it's not, for me, not so a nice olive color. It looks more like this army khaki green color than when I'm mixing olive greens. So yeah, not my personal favorite. Of course, there are usages for every color, but yeah, that's definitely not my favorite. Then we have a color called Brilliant Green, which looks like a phthalo green blue shade. And the Peak Green I'm swatching now looks a little bit like an in-between of a phthalo green blue shade and a phthalo green yellow shade. Or like if you are mixing a little bit of yellow in a phthalo green blue shade, something like that. So it's a warmer grass green color. Then the next color is called Turquoise, and looks a lot like a phthalo blue, phthalo green mix. turquoise. That's always a nice mix, nice color. So, third row. Now we are switching to the blue colors. The first blue is ultramarine, which is good that they have included it, because the set don't has a lot of blues. To be honest, we only get 3, which is not a lot. If you're taking a look that we have 5 greens, which could be easily mixed with yellows and blues, I always think it is more important to have more yellows and blues than greens, but yeah, that's my personal opinion. Of course, not everyone would agree. Ultramarine blue does definitely granulate. That's always the color when I've bought in the past sets like that, where I did look first, because ultramarine blue is a granulating pigment, and if the color granulates, then you know this should be a pigment-based set. If it doesn't granulate at all, not even a super small amount, the chances are high that it is a dye-based set. So we do have a very beautiful granulation here. That's a big plus for this set. So the second color is called azurite blue, and the next color is called deep blue. And to be honest, they are not very far away from each other. They are very similar. The azurite blue doesn't seem like a phthalo blue, a pure phthalo blue. It looks more like if you mix Prussian blue and a phthalo blue, and the deep blue looks very much like a Prussian blue. So maybe they have diluted the phthalo blue with the Prussian blue, because the Prussian blue pigment is a lot cheaper than the phthalo blue pigment, to save some money. But yeah, the end result is we have 2 very similar blues, and as we already only get 3 blues and have 2 that look very identical, that's of course a big bummer in my personal opinion, because they are so close that if you use them like that, you won't see a lot of difference, probably. And if you're using them as mixing blues, you won't probably see any differences in your end result. So that's really sad to have two of 3 blues looking very close to each other. Then the first brown is just called brown. The second one is called burnt sienna. But it looks like a very muted burnt sienna version. It is a reddish brown, but I don't know, it looks very muted. Normally a burnt sienna is a very glowing reddish brown. The glow is definitely missing here. And there, do not wonder why I'm swatching now the Payne's Grey. Sometimes, and that is also a negative point, if the set falls down or so, the pans fall out if you don't somehow glue them down. And then if you put them back into, yes, they have the numbers, but seem that I have swatched the Payne's Grey and the burnt umber here. So that's why I realized that is something wrong. That's why I haven't washed out the color of my brush. I just thought, okay, then we are swatching the Payne's Gray before the color they call Burnt Umber, which is, in my opinion, more like a brown ochre. It is way, way too light for a burnt umber, in my opinion, and it looks nearly identical to the brown. So I don't see, oh, there seems to be another swatch of the pants. Sorry for that. That is called Deep Black. Yeah, that is also a negative point. We have not really a good dark brown here. Of course, you could mix the black into the burnt umber to get a darker brown, but if you are already including multiple browns, then it would also be nice, like with the blues. If we have 3 browns here, why do 2 of them look nearly identical? Then here we do have the color they call gray. And the gray and the Payne's Gray are both granulating a lot. So I guess the Payne's Gray is very bluish. There is probably a ultramarine blue in the mix. And the gray, maybe PBK11, I'm not sure, but that could be the reason why it granulates. Then this color is just called white. I have included the black stripe that you can see how opaque it is. It looks very opaque now, but when it dries, it gets very, very, very light. So I guessed it is a Chinese white, because this is a not very opaque white. So that are all the regular colors. Now we also get some neon colors and some metallics. We are first starting with the neon colors. The one first is neon pink. And the neon colors were at the time, honestly, the reason why I bought the set, because at that time not a lot of brands offered neon colors, and I really, really wanted to have some. And that was... I did have a set with neon pink, orange and red, but they didn't include greens and blues. Greens and blues were very rare at that time to get, and this set was one of the only one having those. That's why I've bought it. Nowadays it is much easier to get neon colors, because the set is in Germany very hard to get. I know in other countries it's not so problematic, but here in Germany it's very hard to get. And I do love neon colors. They're of course absolutely horrible with light fastness, but I've seen so many people using them in so many different ways, and the art always looks stunning. I honestly haven't gotten to the point that I am really using them, because I never know how to include neon colors in my art. So yeah. So the second neon color is called neon orange. The one I swatched just now is called neon red. It's probably a mix of a pink and a yellow, or a pink and orange. It looks really nice. I absolutely love those neon reddish colors. Yeah. Then we have neon yellow, and the next will be neon green. And of course, neon blue as our last neon color. After that, we will be swatching the metallics that are included in this set. And you see that, like with the white, I did have some black stripes, just with a black adding, Sharpie or whatever water resistant black felt pen you have. I always recommend swatching every kind of glitter or metallic colors always in a light and a dark surface, because some colors look different on a light and a dark surface. You do get colors that are barely visible on light and super punchy on dark, like an interference color. You are having colors like two-tone colors or chameleon or flip-flop colors that have different colors coming through on a light and a dark surface. So always do swatch them. I have read so many comments and seen so many videos where people were completely disappointed, especially in when it comes to colors like interference colors, because they always swatch them on light. And also a lot of people don't know that with metallics you have to use a lot more color and a lot less water than with regular paints. If you are having problems with, you will see this in the swatch here, because when I do swatches I mostly never do get the colors that opaque, just because for me personally the swatch is a thing that I can see how the color looks like and not how for metallic I don't have to have it completely opaque to know how the color looks. But I do have a video in the basic tips and basic something called that playlist about mistakes with metallics, all kind of metallic watercolors, and how to prevent them. And the most common mistake I see people is that they use them like regular watercolors with a lot of water. Then the colors are very watered down. You don't get nice opaque swatches on the paper, and you see peeking through the paper a lot. And I have read so many comments and seen so many videos where people say they are disappointed in the quality of the paint because of that, but the mistake often not lies with the colors themselves, but how the people work with the colors. So metallic watercolors are used differently than regular watercolors. A lot less water is needed there to get a really nice opaque swatch or apply on your art. So that is something to keep in mind. If you haven't seen the how to prevent it, the mistakes video and most common mistakes done with metallics, I highly recommend watching the video. If I remember, I will put the link in the description box. Otherwise, like I said, you will find it in the basic tips and so on playlist. Okay, so the first metallic color is called metallic red ochre. The second one, metallic bronze. Then we have metallic gold. Then we have metallic yellow. And that is something very unique here, because in most cases, if you have metallics in a set, you don't get a metallic yellow, you have the gold as your yellow, but a real genuine metallic yellow is super rare to get, so that is something very special here. Then we have the metallic purple, and here we have a little two-tone color, because the color looks very pinkish on a light ground, but very purple, blue purplish on the dark ground. And even if it isn't declared as a two-tone color, it behaves a little bit that way. So that's why I said it's always highly recommend swatching those colors on light and dark. You will get this effect not only with a black surface, a dark blue or a dark green or so, or dark brown, for example, work exactly the same with colors like that. It's always a color, the thing with light and dark. Then we had the metallic green, metallic blue, and metallic white, which you also could call silver. So, what the gray, for example, that was a problematic color. There were barely any pigment in it. I had to scrub so much in the pan to get it that dark. So that is a minus point. You can see on the colors I did point at the nicely the granulation. All the browns sadly are super opaque. Here the metallic yellow and the little purple two-tone. That is also a minus point in my opinion, at least to have one or two with a set that big brown colors that are not maximum opaque would have been nice. I guess when I do take a look at the brown and the burnt umber, they probably have mixed in some kind of ochre. This shade of brown is always, they always use something like a PBR7, for example, and mix either a PY 42 or 43 into it, whatever they get cheaper in big batches. So that is often the case with cheaper sets, because PBR7 is a more expensive earth pigment than the others. So it is cheaper to dilute it with a yellow ochre pigment. And that ochre probably brings the strong opaqueness into the brown colors as well. So that is definitely something negative I do realize when using the colors. The colors themselves behave quite nicely, I would say. Mid-range student grade. From the quality, also for a high-end student grade range, I would have needed information about pigments, light fastness, and usage of a lot of light fast pigments, which we all don't get here, or we don't get the information here. I assume that a lot of the colors aren't light fast, so that definitely with that, in my personal ranking, you can never get above mediocre student grade range. Yeah, the set themselves, the that you get the whole range of neon colors is of course a nice thing if you do like neon colors. That is something not all starter sets do have, so that is nice. Also the big arrangement of the metallic colors is quite nice. You can definitely work very nicely with the colors. The color selection, I think, is a bit lacking, because we do have a nice arrangement of greens, of course. If you are saying you are counting the ochres and the browns into our earth color group, then we have at least 4 different colors, which is okay. We don't have a very dark brown. That would be, I would have either the brown or the burnt umber swatched for a very dark brown here. That would have been perfect, but I think with an ochre and mid-range brown, we do already have at least 2 from 3 darkness grades included here. That's at least something. We do have already said, I think, a lot of greens. I'm not quite sure, but we do have a lot of greens. That is also okay. We do have a cool and a warm purple, violet, however you want to call it, which is also quite nice, which is also not normal in a standard set. We do have two different kinds of oranges, which is completely okay. We don't need more, because oranges, secondary colors, you can of course always mix. I think if you include, depending on the size, one or two is completely enough, because I think having the primary colors in a good selection is more important, because it gives you a lot more possibilities what to do. Then going to the primary colors, that is the point where I say the set is, in my opinion, a bit lacking. We only have two yellows. Of course, you could call the yellow ochre as a yellow as well, but because the opaqueness, it is a lot harder to work with it. So I think in a set with 40 pans, normally I would say 3 of each primary color would be a must, in my personal opinion. We only get 2 yellows. They're very close in hue. A darker yellow would have been nice. Then with the blues, we do have 3 blues, but basically if you look at the colors, really we only get 2 blues, which is the same problem. I would say 3 blues would have been a must for me. In a set like that, I would say an ultramarine blue, a phthalo blue, not some mixed phthalo blue with an with something else in it, like a Prussian blue, but a pure phthalo blue as our primary blue, and the ultramarine as our cool, or a primary blue, depending on how you're working. And then some kind of darker blue. In most cases, with cheaper sets, we do get a Prussian blue, because that's the cheaper option. Indanthrene blue is a very expensive pigment in comparison. That is okay, I think, to have not so light fast darker blue, because we could always mix a phthalo blue with a black to get a nice indigo color. It's the easiest way to mix indigo, and a very light fast one as well. So that would have been okay, but yeah, let us said that here in the set this is a little bit lacking. Also with the reds, I do have a complaint. Yes, we do have 3 reds, and we do have 2 versions of a magenta, which is really, really neat. But we only do get the crimson as a warm red. I would have preferred if there would have been a dark red in the set. We don't have a dark red, and dark reds are very, very hard to mix, because yes, of course you could mix every red or magenta with a black, but those don't get the really red results. It will get a black red or a blackish red. It just looks very different to a genuine dark red color without any red, any black into it. It is not the same, and that is something I think is very important to have in a set. Not for all people, of course, but for a standard starter set like this, I think it is very important, because it is not something that you can just mix yourself. And red is something that is used very often, not only with when you are drawing portraits or people, but also with botanical art, landscape art, even architectural art, because of a lot of roofs, at least here in Europe, are made with this reddish tiles, so that is something needed in architectural as well. So if you want to get there a nice darker red for any kind of shadows or layering, it is nice to have a dark red, and this is just something we don't have here. So that is my, like I said, personal opinion. So quality, mid-range, student grade, of course they are Japanesque styled colors, so they don't behave exactly like Western watercolors. They also are not behaving completely like Gansai Tambi paints, because they are, I would say, more like in between Western and Gansai Tambi. Gansai Tambi are a lot more creamier in a lot of cases. So yeah, I would say it's a somewhere in between those, probably. They are nice to use. You can for sure do very beautiful art with them. They reactivate very easily, which is a big plus. You can, with most of the colors, they are quite nicely pigmented, so you can you get very easily a good amount of color, with a few exceptions like the gray on your brush, which is also quite nice. It is nice. It is okay. It is not overwhelmingly good. There are too many negative points on my list for that. And depending the price, when I've bought it many years ago, it was a very affordable set, but the price the last time I looked it up last year or so really has gotten a lot up, at least here in Germany. Of course, like I said, the set was, to begin with, not so easy to get here. That could be the reason why here in Germany the price has gone up more over the years. That isn't necessarily the reason, the case, I mean, in other countries. So depending where you live, this set could still be very affordable. But, and that is also a big but, I do get this set here in Germany for the same price I would get artist grade set from Rosa Gallery. And nowadays, to that time, Rosa Gallery wasn't available in Germany, but to that we are now, and now I do have the opportunity. So that is the reason why I personally, if someone here in Germany would ask me if I would recommend a set, I would say from our standard here, no, because you get for the same price a set from Rosa Gallery in artist grade, where you have all the information you need, where you have highest quality paints with, in most cases, a very good light fastness. So I wouldn't see the point why to buy a set like that if you can have a much better quality for the same price. But that, of course, is always depending where you live. So that is something you would have to look up at your place. If the set is super affordable and other brands are very expensive in comparison, that then it would be a set which could be interesting. But as always, the biggest negative point, in my opinion, is that you don't get any information about the pigments and therefore can't use it as a light fast. So that is my personal biggest negative point. If you really do want or need a set that is reliable with the light fastness, you will have to buy something else or will have to buy additional colors, and therefore I would more recommend spending your money on maybe a smaller set, but better quality with light fast colors, either artist grade or another student grade sets, like for example Van Gogh. They are absolutely awesome, and you get the 15 color set for I think 15 to 20 euros or so. So they are also very affordable, at least the smaller sets. So there are just better alternatives, in my personal opinion. Of course, if you say this set is in my place very affordable and I don't care for the light fastness, then this is definitely a nice set. So yeah, I would love to hear if you personally do have this set. What are your experiences with it? Or if it is a set that is, after this review, still interesting to you, that would also be something I'm interested in. Yeah, I really hope that the video was interesting and helpful, and I hope to see you soon in another video. Like always, a thumbs up or a follow is very much appreciated, and yeah, because it helps me in the channel a lot, and I really hope to see you soon in another video, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Until then, bye bye.